So you want to build your dream home, buying off the plans, a turnkey property that is a construction loan, and you want to be able to get that house built according to the building company. It's going to take them 6 months and you'll be able to move in absolutely perfect right on time, because that's the dream, right? Well, I'm sure 8 out of 10 times that's exactly how it works. But I'm here to talk to you about that 20% chance where things don't work. And lately I've been dealing with that with some of my clients. And that's what this video is about. The problems with construction loans and the problems with build contracts that are supposed to be completed within 6 months. But do you know what? It takes anything but. Let's get started. Hey guys, Lance here, mortgage broker based here in New Zealand, and every year I help hundreds of people get their finance approved without the overwhelm and the complications that they would otherwise feel if they had to do it on their own. And in today's video, I want to talk about the issues that I've had with construction loans. Whenever I hear a construction loan application or a turnkey project where someone has found a property that they've brought off the plans that's going to be ready according to the building company in 6 months' time, I almost cringe. And I'm going to go through the reasons why based on the experience that I've had with clients over the last 3 or 4 years. And if you're looking at building your home with a construction loan, this is going to be important because I want to make sure that you have the information within your grasp, that you are aware of what could go wrong to make sure that it doesn't happen to you. Reason number 1, bank lending criteria is very tough. From their point of view, they want you to come up with a fixed price contract, which in itself is easy enough to understand. However, when you're dealing with a building company, it's very different because of their ongoing costs. What I found recently is some building companies are not able to come up with a fixed price contract. They're always leaving some leeway there for costs to go up and for them to put that price onto yourself. And that's where the problem lies. It's the issues that the building companies are having to face with rising costs, and the banks simply wanting a fixed price contract to protect both themselves and yourself as well from overrunning costs. Reason number 2, building companies are struggling to come up with fixed price contracts, or at least the ones that I've been dealing with. Some building companies are citing the client, the customer, yourself, making many alternative changes as a reason for them not being able to come up with a fixed price contract. You would expect something like that to take 2 or 3 weeks. However, they take 2 to 3 months to come up with a fixed price contract. And therein lies the problem, especially in a market where interest rates are rising. Something that might have been affordable 8 weeks ago, if you go back to the bank with a fixed price contract, because of the delays, it may well mean that you're not approved for that loan. Reason number 3, customers are changing plans. So sometimes there's a lot of work that goes into planning the floor plan of the house. And then what happens is just before the final box is ticked, the customer changes their mind. They don't want a 4th bedroom. They might want a living area. Changing any plans just before it's priced by the building company is problematic as well. And that can cause further delays in getting a fixed price contract for the lender. So if you're looking at buying a property, you want to make sure that your plan is solid and that you make up your mind right at the beginning so that you don't have any changes later on that might cause changes in price and, of course, further delays in building your property. The cost of materials. You might well know that since COVID and since the borders opened up, the cost of materials has gone up, but then everything else has gone up. Cost of living, inflation. Building materials are not exempted from those. So the cost of materials is often causing delays with building companies being able to build a house within 6 months. What I found recently is that some projects that normally should take 6 months, they're taking at least 18 months to complete. And that's something that you've got to be aware of if you're looking at buying off the plans. The biggest issue that you're going to have is that time. When you get a loan approval, it is for 12 months. And in that 12 months, your build is supposed to be complete. If it's going to take longer than 12 months, most banks will not lend on that. So quite often you sign up with a 12-month contract, but in my experience and what I've seen, a lot of the build contracts are taking at least that. I even have one that's almost 2 years. It's over 2 years and they still haven't completed the build. you've got to be aware of the delays, that if they say something's going to be ready in 12 months, just be prepared for 18 to 24 months. Expect it to be finished in 12 months, but prepare for it to take much longer than that. Reason number 5, depending on the bank that you go with, you will need to have your home loan reviewed every 2 or 3 months. And over the period of time where your property is being built, you've got to make sure that your account conducts remain clean and that your financial situation doesn't change, that you stay in the same job until the property is built. The reason for that is that at every 2 or 3 months, you will need to go back to the bank to review your financial situation. And normally your home loan approval can be rolled over once, but then after the first rollover, you'll need to go back to the bank to get a pre-approval. Just because you're pre-approved at the beginning of the build, it doesn't mean that your pre-approval remains for the entire build. And why I have a problem with construction loans, because unless the property is already half built when you sign up the contract, these projects are taking way longer to complete. And the person that loses out is always the customer, because the customer who prepared to move in 12 months later is having to find alternative accommodation if the move doesn't happen. Another reason why I have an issue with construction lending, and why you need to be well aware of this, is the cost overruns caused by further delays. What am I talking about? I'll use an example. So in 2020, I had a couple who signed up for an apartment for $650,000. That included buying the land first, so they purchased the land, followed by the build, which was supposed to be completed 12 months later. So we're talking about a project that started at the end of December 2020. Of course, we were in the middle of the virus, lockdowns, etc. And now we are at the beginning of 2023, and the property is not built. And not only that, the building company has contacted my buyer basically saying that, hey, they've come up with some extra costs that they weren't aware of, and they need my buyer to come up with another $15,000 to be able to cover those costs. Now, the buyer is dealing with this through their solicitor, but it's a constant reminder of a project which should have been finished in 12 months, okay, maybe 18 months, but here we are going into the 3rd year and the property hasn't been completed just due to ongoing delays. My client is now stuck in a place that they didn't want to be, because they signed their property up for $650,000. If they were to leave this contract and find something similar somewhere else, they will be paying at least $800,000 just due to the rising costs over the last 3 years. My point in all of this is be well aware that when you go into a construction loan or a new build contract with a company, be well aware that some of these things, it's not the company's fault. Some of the stuff is out of their control. However, in most cases, at least what I've found so far, is that things don't always go to plan, and you've got to be prepared for that before you make the decision to buy off the plans. And finally, last but not least, one of the most critical things that comes from all of this is the fact that if things don't go to plan, what you've lost now is time that you can't get back, and your life is put on hold. Be well aware that you don't get that time back. For this couple, they signed up a property in 2020. They had hoped to move in 2021 at the latest, early 2022. And here we are, 2023, and they are still waiting for their project to be complete. And hopefully they won't have to pay extra on top of what they'd paid before. And so you've got to be smart when you make a decision to go into this, and not be naive to think that everything will go to plan. The key takeaway from all this is choose the right building company and make sure that they've got plenty of life in them, because I've just heard another building company has collapsed as of today. They weren't able to complete their development, so they've collapsed and gone into liquidation. Make sure you do your homework on the company that you are working with to make sure that they complete your project on time. That's the end of the video today. I hope you got something out of it. If you like this kind of content, please make that like button brighten up, and it'll be awesome if you can just subscribe as well. It just encourages me to keep going and keep doing content like this for you. That's all for the video, and I'll see you on the next one.